Chocolate comes from cacao beans, which grow on trees native to Central and South America. The process of making chocolate is complex, involving fermentation, drying, roasting, and grinding the beans. Cacao trees are quite particular about where they grow, requiring specific temperature, rainfall, and humidity conditions found in tropical regions within about 20 degrees of the equator. The scientific name for the cacao tree is Theobroma cacao, which translates to food of the gods, reflecting how highly the ancient Mayans and Aztecs valued chocolate. These civilizations used cacao beans as currency and prepared chocolate drinks for ceremonies and medicinal purposes. The chocolate consumed by ancient Mesoamerican cultures was very different from modern chocolate, typically prepared as a bitter, frothy drink mixed with spices like chili peppers, rather than the sweet confection we know today. Chocolate contains several compounds that affect mood and brain chemistry, including small amounts of caffeine, theobromine, which provides a mild stimulant effect, and anandamide, sometimes called the bliss molecule. Dark chocolate contains antioxidants called flavonoids that may have health benefits when consumed in moderation, including potential cardiovascular benefits. However, chocolate also contains sugar and fat, so health benefits must be balanced against caloric content. The transformation from cacao bean to chocolate bar involves many steps performed by specialists. After harvesting, cacao pods are opened, and the beans along with their surrounding pulp are fermented for several days, a crucial step that develops flavor. The beans are then dried, often in the sun, before being shipped to chocolate manufacturers. Roasting the beans further develops flavor and makes them easier to process. The roasted beans are cracked and winnowed to separate the outer shell from the inner nib, which contains cocoa solids and cocoa butter. Grinding the nibs produces chocolate liquor, which despite its name contains no alcohol but is the base for all chocolate products. Déjà vu, the uncanny feeling that you've experienced something before, affects about 60 to 70% of people at least once in their lives. The term comes from French meaning already seen. While the experience feels mysterious, scientists believe déjà vu occurs due to a brief glitch in the brain's memory systems. One theory suggests it happens when your brain's pattern recognition system fires just before your conscious awareness catches up, creating the illusion that the current experience matches a memory. Another theory proposes that information might reach different parts of the brain at slightly different speeds, causing one region to process an experience as a memory before another region processes it as a current event. Déjà vu is more common in young people and decreases with age, possibly because younger brains have more active and flexible neural pathways. Stress and fatigue can increase the likelihood of experiencing déjà vu. While the experience is usually brief and harmless, frequent or extended episodes of déjà vu can sometimes indicate certain types of epilepsy, particularly temporal lobe epilepsy. Related phenomena include jamais vu, the feeling that something familiar seems completely unknown, and presque vu, the feeling of being on the verge of an epiphany, or remembering something that remains just out of reach. These experiences reveal the complex and sometimes imperfect nature of memory and perception. Your brain is constantly constructing your experience of reality from sensory information, memories, and expectations. And sometimes this construction process has minor errors that create these strange experiences. The human stomach acid is strong enough to dissolve metal, with a pH between 1.5 and 3.5, making it highly acidic. This powerful acid, primarily hydrochloric acid, is essential for breaking down food and killing potentially harmful bacteria that enter your body with meals. The stomach lining is protected from this acid by a thick layer of mucus that gets replaced every 2 weeks, because the acid would otherwise digest the stomach itself. When this protective barrier breaks down, stomach ulcers can develop, which are painful erosions in the stomach lining. For many years, ulcers were thought to be caused by stress or spicy food. But scientists discovered that most ulcers are actually caused by a bacterium called Helicobacter pylori that can survive in the acidic environment by creating a protective enzyme barrier. This discovery earned Barry Marshall and Robin Warren the Nobel Prize in 2005. Marshall was so confident in his hypothesis that he deliberately infected himself with the bacteria to prove it caused ulcers. An experiment that would never pass modern ethical reviews, but provided compelling evidence. The stomach is remarkably expandable, able to hold about 1 liter when empty, but capable of stretching to hold up to 4 liters of food and liquid after a large meal. The muscular walls of the stomach churn food, mixing it with digestive enzymes and acid to create a semi-liquid substance called chyme, which is gradually released into the small intestine for further digestion and nutrient absorption. Hunger pangs occur when the stomach is empty and contracts, though true hunger is regulated by complex hormonal signals rather than just an empty stomach. The speed at which your stomach empties depends on what you eat, with fatty foods taking longer to digest than carbohydrates or proteins. Hummingbirds are remarkable creatures with abilities that seem to defy the laws of physics. They're the only birds that can fly backward, hover in place, and even fly upside down for short periods. Their wings beat incredibly fast, between 50 to 80 times per second depending on the species, creating the characteristic humming sound that gives them their name. During courtship displays, some species' wings can beat up to 200 times per second. Hummingbirds have the highest metabolism of any animal relative to their size, with their hearts beating up to 1,200 times per minute during flight. To fuel this extreme metabolism, they must consume more than their body weight in nectar each day, visiting hundreds or even thousands of flowers. When food is scarce or at night when they can't feed, hummingbirds enter a state called torpor, a hibernation-like condition where their metabolic rate drops dramatically and body temperature plummets, allowing them to conserve energy. They have excellent memories and can remember every flower they've visited and how long it will take each flower to refill with nectar. Hummingbirds can see ultraviolet light, revealing patterns on flowers invisible to humans that guide them to nectar. Despite their tiny size, with some species weighing less than a penny, hummingbirds are quite aggressive, fiercely defending their feeding territories from other hummingbirds. Some species migrate incredible distances. Ruby-throated hummingbirds fly non-stop across the Gulf of Mexico, a journey of over 500 miles that takes about 20 hours. Before migration, they nearly double their body weight by storing fat, which fuels their long flight. Hummingbirds have evolved alongside flowering plants in a relationship that benefits both, with flowers providing nectar and hummingbirds providing pollination services while feeding. The concept of absolute zero represents the coldest possible temperature, where all molecular motion theoretically stops. At absolute zero, which is 0 Kelvin, minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, or minus 459.67 degrees Fahrenheit, particles would have minimal kinetic energy. However, quantum mechanics shows that even at absolute zero, particles retain some motion called zero-point energy due to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. As temperatures approach absolute zero, matter behaves in increasingly strange ways. Certain metals become superconductors, conducting electricity with zero resistance, meaning an electrical current could theoretically flow forever without losing energy. Liquid helium becomes a superfluid that can flow without viscosity, climb up the walls of containers, and pass through microscopic pores. Scientists have cooled atoms to within a billionth of a degree above absolute zero, creating exotic states of matter like Bose-Einstein condensates. In these ultra-cold conditions, groups of atoms behave as a single quantum entity, allowing scientists to observe quantum effects at macroscopic scales. The third law of thermodynamics states that absolute zero cannot actually be reached, though we can get arbitrarily close. Every method of cooling has diminishing returns, with each step toward absolute zero requiring exponentially more effort than the last. The quest to reach ever lower temperatures has driven major advances in physics and technology. Ultra-cold atom research has applications in quantum computing, atomic clocks, and fundamental physics research. These extreme experiments reveal that the universe has many states and behaviors that only become apparent under conditions far outside our everyday experience, expanding our understanding of matter, energy, and the fundamental laws of nature. Coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea, cover less than 1% of the ocean floor but support about 25% of all marine species. These complex ecosystems are built by tiny animals called coral polyps, which are related to jellyfish and sea anemones. Coral polyps have a symbiotic relationship with microscopic algae called zooxanthellae that live inside their tissues. The algae perform photosynthesis, providing the coral with up to 90% of their energy needs, while the coral provides the algae with a protected environment and access to sunlight. This partnership allows coral reefs to thrive in nutrient-poor tropical waters. The beautiful colors of coral reefs come primarily from these algae. When corals are stressed by changes in temperature, light, or water quality, they expel their algae in a process called coral bleaching, leaving the coral white and vulnerable to disease and death. If conditions improve quickly enough, corals can recover by recruiting new algae, but prolonged or severe bleaching events can kill corals. Climate change poses an existential threat to coral reefs, with warming oceans causing more frequent and severe bleaching events. Ocean acidification, caused by increased carbon dioxide dissolving in seawater, makes it harder for corals to build their calcium carbonate skeletons. Despite these threats, coral reefs provide enormous benefits to humans, protecting coastlines from storms and erosion, supporting fisheries that feed millions of people, and attracting tourism that generates billions of dollars in economic activity. Reefs also serve as sources of compounds used in medicines, including treatments for cancer and other diseases. Coral reefs grow slowly, typically just a few centimeters per year for most species, meaning damaged reefs take decades or centuries to recover. Scientists are working on coral restoration techniques and studying resilient coral varieties that might better withstand future ocean conditions. But the most important factor in preserving reefs is addressing climate change and reducing other stressors like pollution and overfishing. Your brain generates new neurons throughout your life, a process called neurogenesis. For many years, scientists believed that you were born with all the neurons you would ever have, but research has shown that certain brain regions, particularly the hippocampus involved in memory and learning, continue producing new neurons into old age. This discovery revolutionized neuroscience and opened new possibilities for treating brain injuries and neurodegenerative diseases. The factors that promote neurogenesis include physical exercise, which increases blood flow and growth factors in the brain, learning new skills that challenge your brain, adequate sleep that allows the brain to consolidate memories and clear waste products, a healthy diet rich in omega-3 fatty acids and antioxidants, and social interaction and mental stimulation. Conversely, chronic stress, lack of sleep, excessive alcohol consumption, and aging can reduce neurogenesis. The brain shows remarkable plasticity, constantly rewiring itself in response to experiences and learning. When you practice a skill, the neural pathways involved in that skill strengthen, becoming more efficient and automatic. This is why practice leads to improvement, and why breaking a bad habit requires consciously creating new neural pathways to replace old ones. Brain plasticity isn't unlimited and tends to decrease with age, but it never disappears entirely. Even elderly brains can form new connections and learn new information, though it may require more effort and repetition than in youth. Brain training exercises, learning new languages, playing musical instruments, and other cognitively demanding activities can help maintain brain health and cognitive function as you age. Understanding neuroplasticity and neurogenesis has inspired new approaches to rehabilitation after brain injuries, suggesting that with appropriate therapy and stimulation, the brain can sometimes compensate for damage by recruiting other regions to take over lost functions. Antarctica is the coldest, driest, and windiest continent on Earth, yet it contains about 70% of the world's fresh water locked in ice. The ice sheet covering Antarctica is, on average, over 1 mile thick and reaches nearly 3 miles thick at its deepest points. If all this ice melted, global sea levels would rise by about 200 feet, dramatically reshaping coastlines worldwide. Despite being covered in ice, Antarctica is technically a desert because it receives very little precipitation, with some areas receiving less than 2 inches of water equivalent per year. The interior of Antarctica is one of the driest places on Earth. The lowest temperature ever recorded on Earth was at Antarctica's Vostok Station, reaching minus 128.6 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 89.2 degrees Celsius in July 1983. Surprisingly, Antarctica was not always frozen. Millions of years ago, it was part of the supercontinent Gondwana and had a much warmer climate with forests and dinosaurs. Fossil evidence shows that Antarctica once supported diverse life, including palm trees and various animal species. The continent began freezing about 34 million years ago when it separated from South America, allowing the Antarctic circumpolar current to form, which isolated Antarctica from warmer ocean currents. Today, Antarctica has no permanent human residence, though several thousand scientists and support staff live there temporarily at research stations. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, designates the continent as a scientific preserve and bans military activity, nuclear testing, and mineral mining. Despite the harsh conditions, life persists in Antarctica, including penguins, seals, whales, and various seabirds along the coast. While microscopic organisms survive even in the dry valleys and beneath the ice. Scientists study Antarctica to understand climate change, as ice cores drilled from the ice sheet preserve atmospheric samples going back hundreds of thousands of years, providing crucial data about past climate conditions and how Earth's climate system works. Black holes are among the most extreme objects in the universe, regions of spacetime where gravity is so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape once it crosses the boundary called the event horizon. Black holes form when massive stars exhaust their nuclear fuel and collapse under their own gravity, compressing matter to incredible densities. If you could compress Earth to the size of a marble, it would become a black hole. At the center of a black hole lies the singularity, a point of theoretically infinite density where our current physics breaks down and we cannot predict what happens. The event horizon isn't a physical surface, but rather a boundary in spacetime beyond which escape becomes impossible. The size of a black hole's event horizon depends on its mass, with stellar mass black holes having event horizons just a few miles across, while supermassive black holes at galaxy centers can have event horizons larger than our solar system. Time behaves strangely near black holes due to extreme gravitational time dilation. An observer watching someone fall toward a black hole would see them appear to slow down and freeze at the event horizon, while from the perspective of the falling person, they would cross the horizon and reach the singularity in finite time. The extreme gravity near a black hole creates tidal forces that would stretch and compress any object in different directions, an effect gruesomely called spaghettification. Despite being called black holes aren't entirely black. Stephen Hawking showed that quantum effects near the event horizon cause black holes to emit radiation, now called Hawking radiation, meaning black holes very slowly evaporate over unimaginably long timescales. Most galaxies, including our Milky Way, have supermassive black holes at their centers, millions or billions times the mass of our Sun, whose gravitational influence helps shape galaxy structure and evolution. In 2019, scientists captured the first image of a black hole's shadow using the Event Horizon Telescope, providing direct visual evidence of these extreme objects and confirming predictions of general relativity. Sleep is essential for life, yet we still don't fully understand why we sleep. All mammals, birds, and many other animals sleep, suggesting sleep serves crucial biological functions. During sleep, your brain remains remarkably active, cycling through different stages that serve different purposes. Sleep progresses through several stages, starting with light sleep, moving into deeper sleep, and then entering REM, rapid eye movement sleep, where most dreaming occurs. The cycle repeats several times throughout the night, with REM periods becoming longer toward morning. Deep sleep is particularly important for physical restoration, with the body releasing growth hormone and repairing tissues. During deep sleep, the brain appears to wash away metabolic waste products that accumulate during waking hours, including proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. REM sleep is crucial for emotional regulation, memory consolidation, and learning. Studies show that sleep helps solidify memories, with particular types of information processed during specific sleep stages. Motor skills benefit from REM sleep, while declarative memories about facts and events are consolidated during deep sleep. Sleep deprivation has serious consequences for health and cognition, impairing attention, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Chronic sleep deprivation increases risk for obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and mental health problems. Even modest sleep restriction over time creates a sleep debt that impairs performance more than people typically recognize. During sleep, your brain doesn't simply rest but actively processes information, forms and strengthens neural connections, and clears out unnecessary connections in a process that helps maintain brain health. Dreams during REM sleep might serve to process emotions, consolidate memories, or simulate threatening situations as a form of practice. The exact purpose of dreams remains debated, but they clearly reflect brain activity related to memory processing and emotional experiences. Different species have evolved various sleep strategies, from dolphins and some birds that can sleep with one brain hemisphere at a time, keeping the other awake, to animals that sleep for much of the day or very little, depending on their ecological niche and survival needs. Fungi are neither plants nor animals, but belong to their own kingdom of life with unique characteristics. Fungi play crucial roles in ecosystems as decomposers, breaking down dead organic matter and recycling nutrients. The mushrooms we see are actually just the fruiting bodies of fungi, similar to how apples are the fruit of apple trees. The main body of most fungi exists underground or within rotting wood as a network of tiny threads called hyphae, collectively called mycelium. This mycelial network can be enormous. with the largest known organism on Earth being a honey fungus in Oregon, whose mycelium covers over 2,000 acres and is estimated to be between 2,000 and 8,000 years old. Fungi absorb nutrients through their cell walls, secreting enzymes that break down complex organic molecules outside their bodies before absorbing the simpler compounds. This external digestion allows fungi to break down tough materials like cellulose and lignin in wood that most other organisms cannot digest. The relationship between fungi and plants is ancient and crucial. Mycorrhizal fungi form partnerships with plant roots, extending the root system's reach and helping plants absorb water and nutrients, particularly phosphorus, in exchange for sugars produced by photosynthesis. It's estimated that 90% of plant species form these partnerships with fungi. Some fungi are pathogens causing diseases in plants, animals, and humans, from athlete's foot to devastating crop diseases. Other fungi are essential to human activities, including yeasts that ferment bread, beer, and wine, molds that produce antibiotics like penicillin, and mushrooms cultivated for food. Fungi reproduce through spores, microscopic packages that can be dispersed by wind, water, or animals. A single mushroom can produce billions of spores, though very few will find suitable conditions to germinate and grow. Recent research reveals that fungi can communicate through electrical signals along their mycelial networks, and some evidence suggests they might even exhibit primitive learning behaviors, responding to repeated stimuli in ways that suggest simple memory. Photosynthesis is one of the most important processes on Earth, converting sunlight into chemical energy that powers most ecosystems. Plants, algae, and some bacteria capture light energy using pigments like chlorophyll and use it to convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose and oxygen. The equation sounds simple, but the actual process involves complex biochemical pathways and elegant molecular machines. Photosynthesis occurs primarily in specialized structures called chloroplasts in plant cells. These organelles contain stacks of membranes where light-capturing pigments are arranged in precise geometries. When sunlight strikes these pigments, it excites electrons to higher energy states, initiating a cascade of electron transfers that ultimately stores energy in molecules like ATP and NADPH. This light-dependent stage of photosynthesis splits water molecules, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. The oxygen we breathe comes from this process, fundamentally changing Earth's atmosphere billions of years ago when photosynthetic organisms first evolved. The second stage of photosynthesis, called the Calvin cycle, uses the energy captured in the light stage to fix carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into organic molecules. This carbon fixation is what allows plants to grow, converting atmospheric carbon into plant tissues. The first photosynthetic organisms appeared about 3.5 billion years ago, and the evolution of oxygenic photosynthesis, which produces oxygen, occurred around 2.5 billion years ago, triggering the Great Oxidation Event that transformed Earth's atmosphere and made complex life possible. Photosynthesis is remarkably efficient at the molecular level, approaching the theoretical limits of energy conversion for its key steps. Though overall efficiency from sunlight to stored chemical energy in plant matter is usually only 1 to 6% due to various limiting factors. Scientists are studying photosynthesis to understand its mechanisms better and potentially create artificial photosynthesis systems that could produce clean fuels from sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. Understanding and harnessing photosynthesis could help address energy needs and climate change by developing better crops, biofuels, and carbon capture technologies. Mars, often called the red planet due to iron oxide, rust, on its surface, has fascinated humans for centuries as a potential abode for life. Mars is about half the diameter of Earth and has roughly 1/10 Earth's mass. A day on Mars, called a sol, is remarkably similar to an Earth day, lasting about 24 hours and 37 minutes. However, a Martian year is about 687 Earth days, because Mars orbits farther from the Sun than Earth does. Mars has seasons like Earth because its axis is tilted at about 25 degrees, similar to Earth's 23.5-degree tilt. The Martian atmosphere is very thin, only about 1% of Earth's atmospheric pressure, composed mostly of carbon dioxide with small amounts of nitrogen and argon. This thin atmosphere means liquid water cannot exist stably on the Martian surface, as it would either freeze or evaporate rapidly. However, substantial amounts of water ice exist at Mars's poles and buried beneath the surface. Evidence suggests Mars once had a thicker atmosphere and liquid water on its surface billions of years ago, with ancient river valleys, lake beds, and possible ocean basins carved into the landscape. What happened to Mars's water and atmosphere remains a key scientific question, with the leading theory suggesting that Mars's weak magnetic field allowed solar wind to gradually strip away its atmosphere, causing the planet to dry out and become the cold desert world we see today. Mars experiences the largest dust storms in the solar system, which can envelope the entire planet and last for months. The planet has spectacular geological features, including Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system, standing about 16 miles high and 375 miles in diameter, roughly the size of Arizona. Mars also has Valles Marineris, a canyon system that stretches over 2,500 miles long, 600 miles wide, and up to 7 miles deep, dwarfing Earth's Grand Canyon. Multiple rovers and landers have explored Mars, searching for signs of past or present life and preparing for potential future human missions. The search for life on Mars focuses on finding chemical signatures, organic molecules, or microscopic fossils that could indicate Mars once hosted life when conditions were more favorable. The immune system is your body's defense network against pathogens like bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites, as well as cancer cells. It consists of an incredibly complex array of cells, tissues, and organs working together to protect you. The immune system has two main components: the innate immune system, which provides immediate but nonspecific defense, and the adaptive immune system, which develops targeted responses to specific threats and creates immunological memory. Your skin and mucous membranes form the first barrier, preventing most pathogens from entering your body. If pathogens breach this barrier, innate immune cells like macrophages and neutrophils quickly respond, engulfing and destroying invaders. These cells also release chemical signals that cause inflammation, attracting more immune cells to the site of infection. The adaptive immune system takes several days to fully activate, but provides more sophisticated and long-lasting protection. B cells produce antibodies, Y-shaped proteins that bind to specific antigens on pathogens, marking them for destruction or neutralizing them directly. T cells have various functions, including directly killing infected cells and coordinating immune responses. After defeating an infection, some B and T cells become memory cells that remain in your body for years or even a lifetime, allowing rapid response if you encounter the same pathogen again. This immunological memory is the principle behind vaccination, which exposes your immune system to weakened or inactive pathogens, training it to recognize and fight the real pathogen without making you sick. The immune system must perform a delicate balancing act, being aggressive enough to eliminate threats but restrained enough to avoid attacking your own tissues. When this balance fails, autoimmune diseases occur, where the immune system mistakenly attacks healthy cells. Allergies represent another immune system dysfunction, where harmless substances like pollen trigger inappropriate immune responses. The immune system communicates through an intricate language of chemical signals called cytokines, coordinating responses between different cell types. Fever, one symptom of infection, occurs because elevated body temperature enhances immune function and inhibits some pathogens. Your lifestyle significantly affects immune function, with factors like adequate sleep, balanced nutrition, regular exercise, stress management, and avoiding smoking, all supporting healthy immune responses. The speed of light is not just fast, it's the universe's ultimate speed limit, and nothing with mass can reach or exceed it. Light travels at exactly 299,790,2,458 meters per second in a vacuum. This speed is built into the fabric of spacetime itself and has profound implications for physics and our understanding of the universe. As objects approach light speed, strange things happen according to Einstein's special relativity. Time slows down for the moving object relative to stationary observers, lengths contract in the direction of motion, and the object's mass effectively increases, requiring ever more energy to accelerate further. This last point is why nothing with mass can reach light speed. It would require infinite energy. Light itself consists of massless particles called photons, which always travel at light speed in vacuum and can never be at rest. The speed of light connects energy and mass through Einstein's famous equation E equals mc squared, showing their different forms of the same thing. Light slows down when traveling through transparent materials like water or glass, which is why light bends when entering these materials, causing refraction. The refractive index of a material tells you how much light slows down passing through it. In water, light travels about 75% of its vacuum speed. The finite speed of light means we see the universe as it was in the past, with the delay depending on distance. We see the sun as it was 8 minutes ago, the nearest star as it was 4 years ago, and distant galaxies as they were millions or billions of years ago. This allows astronomers to study the history of the universe by looking at increasingly distant objects, effectively peering back in time toward the Big Bang. The speed of light also sets a fundamental limit on communication and travel in the universe. The nearest star system is over 4 light-years away, meaning even traveling at light speed would require over 4 years to reach it, and any signal we sent would take over 4 years to arrive. This cosmic speed limit has implications for the possibility of interstellar travel and communication with any potential alien civilizations. Despite being called the speed of light, it's more fundamentally the speed of causality itself, the maximum speed at which cause and effect can propagate through the universe. With light just happening to travel at this universal speed limit, because photons have no mass. Earthquakes occur when energy stored in Earth's crust is suddenly released, usually along faults where tectonic plates meet. The Earth's surface consists of several large tectonic plates that float on the semi-molten mantle below, moving a few centimeters per year. Where plates collide, pull apart, or slide past each other, stress builds up over time. When this stress exceeds the strength of the rock, it fractures and shifts suddenly, releasing energy as seismic waves that shake the ground. Most earthquakes occur along plate boundaries, particularly around the Pacific Ring of Fire, though they can also happen far from boundaries in areas of ancient faults or human-induced seismic activity from activities like fracking or reservoir filling. Earthquakes are measured using magnitude scales, with the Richter scale being historically famous, and the moment magnitude scale being the modern standard for large earthquakes. Each whole number increase represents about 32 times more energy released. A magnitude 5 earthquake releases energy roughly equivalent to the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, while a magnitude 9 earthquake releases about 32,000 times more energy. The largest earthquake ever recorded was the 1960 Chile earthquake, with a magnitude of about 9.5, causing massive destruction and a tsunami that killed people around the Pacific. Earthquakes generate different types of seismic waves, including P waves, primary waves, that compress and expand rock and travel fastest, arriving first. S waves, secondary waves, that move rock side to side and travel more slowly, and surface waves that travel along Earth's surface causing most of the damage. Animals may be able to sense earthquakes before humans do, possibly detecting the initial P waves or subtle changes in electromagnetic fields, though reliable earthquake prediction remains elusive. Scientists can identify areas at high earthquake risk and estimate probabilities of earthquakes over decades or centuries, but cannot predict specific earthquakes days or hours in advance. Early warning systems can detect earthquake initiation and send alerts to areas not yet reached by the damaging waves, providing seconds to minutes of warning. Building codes in earthquake-prone regions require structures designed to withstand shaking, using techniques like flexible frames, base isolation, and damping systems that help buildings survive earthquakes with minimal damage. The phenomenon of bioluminescence, where living organisms produce light through chemical reactions, occurs in many marine creatures and some terrestrial organisms. Fireflies create flashing patterns to attract mates, with different species having distinct flash patterns. In the ocean, bioluminescence is even more common, with estimates that up to 90% of deep-sea creatures produce light. These organisms use light for various purposes, including attracting prey, deterring predators, camouflage through counter-illumination matching downwelling light, and communication, particularly in finding mates. The chemistry of bioluminescence typically involves a light-emitting molecule called luciferin that reacts with oxygen in the presence of an enzyme called luciferase, producing light with very little heat, making it incredibly efficient. Different organisms use different luciferin molecules, suggesting bioluminescence evolved independently multiple times. The colors produced vary by species, with many marine organisms producing blue or green light because these wavelengths travel farthest in water. Some deep-sea fish have bioluminescent lures dangling in front of their mouths, attracting prey in the darkness. The anglerfish is the most famous example, with a luminous lure that hosts bioluminescent bacteria. Some squids squirt bioluminescent fluid instead of or in addition to ink, creating glowing clouds that confuse predators. Certain species of jellyfish and plankton called dinoflagellates create amazing displays of bioluminescence when disturbed, making waves appear to glow at night. This is the cause of the famous bioluminescent bays found in places like Puerto Rico and the Maldives, where millions of dinoflagellates light up in response to wave motion. Scientists have harnessed bioluminescence for research, using luciferase and green fluorescent protein from jellyfish as tools to study gene expression and cellular processes. These glowing proteins can be attached to other proteins of interest, allowing scientists to track them in living cells and organisms, revolutionizing biological research. Rest now, knowing that the universe holds infinite wonders, yet to be explored and understood. Each scientific discovery opens doors to new questions and possibilities, driving humanity forward in its quest to understand reality. From the smallest particles to the largest structures in the cosmos, from the simplest chemical reactions to the most complex biological systems. Science reveals the intricate beauty and elegant order underlying existence. May these fascinating facts inspire curiosity and wonder as you drift into peaceful slumber. Sweet dreams, and may your mind continue its journey through the marvels of science as you rest. Metamorphosis represents one of nature's most dramatic transformations, where an organism completely changes its body form during its life cycle. The most familiar examples occur in insects and amphibians. When a caterpillar enters its chrysalis or cocoon, it doesn't simply grow wings and longer legs. Instead, it releases enzymes that digest most of its own body, breaking down tissues into a protein-rich soup. Only certain groups of cells called imaginal discs survive this process, and these clusters of cells contain the instructions to build the adult butterfly or moth. These imaginal discs existed in the caterpillar but remained dormant, waiting for metamorphosis to activate them. As the caterpillar dissolves, the imaginal discs proliferate and differentiate, gradually organizing into wings, antennae, compound eyes, reproductive organs, and all the other structures of the adult form. The transformation takes about 2 weeks for many species, though this varies widely. Remarkably, research suggests butterflies retain some memories from their caterpillar stage, despite the dramatic reorganization of their nervous system, indicating that certain neural structures must survive the transformation. Frogs undergo a similar but less extreme transformation as they develop from aquatic tadpoles, with gills and tails, into terrestrial or semi-terrestrial adults, with lungs and legs. During frog metamorphosis, the tail is absorbed back into the body through programmed cell death. Gills are replaced by lungs. The digestive system changes from an herbivorous to a carnivorous configuration, and limbs grow. These changes are triggered by thyroid hormones, and the timing can be influenced by environmental conditions like temperature and food availability. Some species undergo incomplete metamorphosis, where young resemble small versions of adults and grow through successive molts, while others undergo complete metamorphosis with a pupal stage. The evolution of metamorphosis allowed insects to exploit different ecological niches at different life stages, with larvae often specializing in eating and growth, while adults focus on reproduction and dispersal, reducing competition between life stages and contributing to insects' incredible diversity and success. Redwood trees are among the tallest and longest-lived organisms on Earth, with coast redwoods reaching heights over 380 feet and living for more than 2,000 years. These magnificent trees grow only in a narrow coastal strip of California and southern Oregon, where fog provides crucial summer moisture. The bark of mature redwoods can be up to 12 inches thick and contains tannins that make it resistant to fire, insects, and rot. Redwoods can survive fires that would kill most other trees, with their thick bark protecting the living tissue underneath, and their ability to sprout new growth from dormant buds. After major fires, redwoods often grow a circle of new trees from the root crown of a damaged or killed tree, creating fairy rings of redwoods surrounding the original stump. Redwoods have a massive root system that spreads wide but relatively shallow, typically extending 100 feet from the trunk, but rarely deeper than 6 to 12 feet. Individual trees' roots often fuse with neighboring trees' roots, creating interconnected systems that share resources and provide mutual support against wind. Despite their enormous size, redwood cones are quite small, about an inch long, and each tree produces thousands of these cones containing tiny seeds. The vast majority of seeds never germinate, but redwoods also reproduce by sprouting from the base of mature trees or from fallen logs, a process called vegetative reproduction. Redwood forests create unique ecosystems with incredibly high biomass density, storing more carbon per acre than any other forest type on Earth. The trees also create distinctive microclimates, with the canopy intercepting fog and dripping water to the forest floor, adding significant moisture during dry California summers. The canopy itself, over 200 feet above the ground in mature forests, hosts its own ecosystem including plants, invertebrates, salamanders, and other organisms that spend their entire lives in the treetops, never touching the ground. These canopy ecosystems remained largely unexplored until recent decades when scientists developed techniques to safely climb into the canopy. Old-growth redwood forests once covered over 2 million acres, but have been reduced to about 5% of their original extent due to logging. Though conservation efforts have protected the remaining ancient groves, and some second-growth forests are maturing. Diamonds form deep within Earth's mantle, about 100 miles below the surface, where extreme pressure and temperature transform carbon into crystalline diamond. The conditions required are approximately 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit and pressures of about 725,000 pounds per square inch. Diamonds are brought to Earth's surface through volcanic eruptions that occur when deep magma rapidly ascends through pipe-like formations called kimberlite pipes, carrying diamonds along without giving them time to convert back to graphite. Most diamonds are between 1 and 3 billion years old, formed long before complex life existed on Earth, making them among the oldest materials you can hold. Diamond is the hardest naturally occurring material on Earth, rated 10 on the Mohs hardness scale, though several synthetic materials like aggregated diamond nanorods are harder. This extreme hardness makes diamonds valuable for industrial applications like cutting tools, drill bits, and precision machining. With about 80% of mined diamonds used for industrial purposes rather than jewelry. The word diamond comes from the Greek word adamas, meaning invincible, reflecting their incredible hardness and durability. Pure diamonds are completely colorless, but trace amounts of different elements can create various colors. Nitrogen creates yellow or brown tints, the most common impurities, while boron creates blue diamonds, and radiation exposure or crystal lattice defects can create green diamonds. Red and pink diamonds are the rarest, with their color caused by unusual crystal structures, and they command the highest prices. The famous Hope diamond, a blue diamond weighing over 45 carats, is valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. While diamonds are marketed as symbols of eternal love and engagement, this association is relatively recent. Largely created by a brilliant marketing campaign by De Beers in the 20th century with the slogan, "A diamond is forever." In reality, diamond is a metastable form of carbon at Earth's surface, meaning graphite is technically more stable, but the conversion rate from diamond to graphite at room temperature is so incredibly slow that diamonds remain unchanged over human timescales and beyond. Scientists can now create synthetic diamonds in laboratories using two main methods: high-pressure, high-temperature synthesis that mimics natural formation conditions, or chemical vapor deposition that grows diamond films atom by atom from carbon-containing gases. Synthetic diamonds can be virtually identical to natural ones, or made with specific properties for specialized applications. And detecting whether a diamond is natural or synthetic requires specialized equipment, examining growth patterns and impurity distributions. Migration is one of nature's most spectacular phenomena, with animals traveling thousands of miles between breeding and feeding grounds, following seasonal patterns honed by millions of years of evolution. Arctic terns hold the record for longest migration, traveling about 44,000 miles round-trip each year from their Arctic breeding grounds to Antarctic waters and back, experiencing 2 summers per year and seeing more daylight than any other animal. These remarkable birds weigh only about 4 ounces, yet cross the globe annually. Monarch butterflies migrate up to 3,000 miles from Canada and the United States to specific mountain forests in central Mexico, with millions converging on just a few locations they've never visited before, somehow navigating to the same trees used by previous generations. The butterflies that make the journey south are different from those that return north, as several generations live and die during the northern journey. Yet somehow the great-great-grandchildren know where to fly despite never having been taught. Scientists believe monarchs use the sun's position combined with an internal circadian clock to maintain their direction, and they may also use Earth's magnetic field for orientation. Caribou migrate farther than any other land mammal, with some herds traveling nearly 3,000 miles annually across Arctic tundra between calving grounds and wintering areas. Salmon are famous for swimming upstream to spawn in the exact streams where they were born, sometimes climbing waterfall and traveling hundreds of miles inland from the ocean. They navigate using smell to recognize the chemical signature of their natal stream, though they may also use Earth's magnetic field for ocean navigation. Gray whales migrate about 12,000 miles round trip along the Pacific coast between feeding grounds in Alaska and breeding grounds in Baja California, one of the longest migrations of any mammal. Wildebeest in Africa migrate in massive herds of over 1 million animals, following seasonal rains in a circular route through the Serengeti and Masai Mara ecosystems. Many songbirds migrate at night, navigating using stars, with some species able to detect the rotation of the night sky around Polaris even on their first migration. Migration represents an enormous energetic investment, and many animals must double their body mass before migrating to fuel the journey. The challenges of migration include predation, exhaustion, starvation, and increasingly, human-created obstacles like buildings, power lines, and habitat destruction. Climate change is shifting the timing of seasons, potentially causing mismatches between migration timing and food availability at destinations. Threatening species that have evolved to time their journeys precisely. As you rest, let your mind wander through these fascinating realms of scientific discovery. The universe reveals itself through careful observation, experimentation, and the human drive to understand our place in the cosmos. From the infinitesimal to the infinite, from the rapid to the ancient, science illuminates the workings of reality in all its magnificent complexity. Sleep well knowing that each day brings new discoveries that expand human knowledge and capabilities. May these facts inspire dreams of exploration and understanding, reminding you that we inhabit a universe more wondrous than imagination alone could conjure. Rest peacefully as your brain processes these marvels, consolidating memories and connections that will enrich your waking thoughts. Good night, and may science continue to reveal the extraordinary nature of existence through the most fascinating corners of scientific discovery. As you relax and drift into peaceful rest, let your mind wander through the wonders of our universe, from the tiniest particles to the vast expanses of space. Science reveals the extraordinary nature of our everyday world, showing us that reality is far stranger and more beautiful than we ever imagined. Tonight, you'll discover amazing facts that will enrich your understanding while you peacefully fall asleep. The universe is filled with mysteries that scientists continue to unravel, and each discovery opens new doors to understanding. From the depths of the ocean to the far reaches of space, from the inner workings of atoms to the massive structures of galaxies, science illuminates the incredible complexity and elegance of existence. Let these fascinating truths about our world accompany you into restful slumber as you absorb the wonder of scientific knowledge. Your brain continues processing information even as you sleep, making this the perfect time to explore these captivating facts about the natural world and the cosmos beyond. Prepare to be amazed by the reality we inhabit, a reality far more extraordinary than any fiction. Did you know that honey never spoils? Archaeologists have found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that are over 3,000 years old and still perfectly edible. The unique chemical composition of honey, combined with its low moisture content and acidic pH, creates an environment where bacteria simply cannot survive. Bees add an enzyme called glucose oxidase to honey, which breaks down into gluconic acid and hydrogen peroxide, giving honey natural antibacterial properties. This remarkable preservation quality made honey valuable not just as food, but as medicine throughout human history. Ancient civilizations used honey to treat wounds and prevent infections long before modern antibiotics were discovered. The process by which bees create honey is itself a marvel of nature, involving complex communication, teamwork, and chemical transformation that turns flower nectar into this eternal golden substance. The human body is constantly producing new cells at an astonishing rate. Every second, approximately 25 million cells are created to replace those that have died or become damaged. Your body manufactures about 200 billion red blood cells every single day, each one living for roughly 120 days before being recycled. The lining of your stomach replaces itself every few days because the acidic environment would otherwise destroy it. Your skin completely renews itself approximately every 28 days, meaning the outer layer you see today will be entirely different in a month. Your liver can regenerate itself even if up to 75% of it is removed or damaged, making it one of the most resilient organs in your body. Even your skeleton is constantly being remodeled, with old bone broken down and new bone formed in a continuous cycle that replaces your entire skeleton roughly every 10 years. This constant renewal is essential for healing, growth, and maintaining the complex systems that keep you alive and functioning. Light travels at an incredible speed of approximately 186,000 miles per second, or about 300,000 kilometers per second in a vacuum. This means that light could circle the entire Earth more than 7 times in just 1 second. When you look at the sun, you're actually seeing it as it was 8 minutes and 20 seconds ago, because that's how long it takes light to travel the 93 million miles from the sun to Earth. When you gaze at stars in the night sky, you're looking back in time. The light from the nearest star system, Alpha Centauri, takes over 4 years to reach us, so we see it as it was 4 years ago. Some stars you can see with your naked eye are hundreds or even thousands of light years away, meaning their light began its journey to your eyes long before you were born. The most distant objects ever observed by telescopes are so far away that their light has been traveling for over 13 billion years, showing us the universe as it was when it was very young. This finite speed of light has profound implications for our understanding of space, time, and causality. Octopuses are among the most intelligent invertebrates on Earth and possess some truly alien characteristics. They have 3 hearts, with 2 pumping blood to the gills and 1 pumping blood to the rest of the body. Their blood is blue because it uses copper-based hemocyanin to carry oxygen, instead of the iron-based hemoglobin that makes human blood red. An octopus has 9 brains, with 1 central brain and a smaller brain in each of its 8 arms, allowing each arm to act somewhat independently and even taste what it touches. They can change color and texture in less than a second, using specialized cells called chromatophores, iridophores, and leucophores to blend seamlessly with their surroundings or communicate with other octopuses. Some species can squeeze through openings as small as their beak, which is the only hard part of their body. Octopuses have been observed using tools, solving complex puzzles, and even playing, demonstrating cognitive abilities that suggest a form of intelligence very different from our own. They can regenerate lost arms and have been known to escape from aquariums, navigate mazes, and recognize individual humans. These remarkable creatures challenge our understanding of intelligence and consciousness. The Amazon rainforest produces approximately 20% of the world's oxygen and is often called the lungs of the earth. This vast tropical ecosystem spans over 2 million square miles across 9 countries in South America, with Brazil containing about 60% of it. The rainforest is home to an estimated 10% of all species on Earth, including over 40,000 plant species, 1,300 bird species, 3,000 types of fish, and more than 430 species of mammals. Scientists estimate that 1 in 10 known species in the world lives in the Amazon rainforest, and new species are discovered there regularly. A single tree in the Amazon can host more species of ants than exist in all of the British Isles. The biodiversity is so rich that a single hectare of rainforest may contain over 750 types of trees and 1,500 species of higher plants. The trees create their own rainfall through transpiration, releasing water vapor that forms clouds and contributes to the regional climate. Indigenous peoples have lived in the Amazon for at least 11,000 years, developing extensive knowledge of the forest's medicinal plants and sustainable practices. This incredible ecosystem plays a crucial role in regulating global climate patterns and storing massive amounts of carbon dioxide. Your brain uses about 20% of your body's total energy, despite making up only about 2% of your body weight. This remarkable organ contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each capable of forming thousands of connections with other neurons, creating a network of incredible complexity. The human brain has more possible neural connections than there are atoms in the universe, giving it essentially unlimited potential for learning and memory. Information in your nervous system can travel at speeds up to 268 miles per hour along the fastest nerve fibers. Your brain generates enough electricity to power a small light bulb, producing about 12 to 25 watts of power when you're awake. Every time you learn something new, the physical structure of your brain changes as new neural pathways form and strengthen. Sleep is essential for consolidating memories, with your brain actively processing and organizing information while you rest. Dreams may serve important functions in emotional regulation, problem solving, and memory integration. The brain continues developing until around age 25, with the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and impulse control, being one of the last areas to fully mature. Your brain is constantly predicting what will happen next based on past experiences, and what you perceive as reality is actually your brain's best guess about what's out there. Bananas are naturally radioactive because they contain potassium-40, a radioactive isotope of potassium. Don't worry though, the amount is minuscule and completely harmless. You would need to eat about 10 million bananas at once to receive a fatal dose of radiation. This phenomenon is so well known that scientists use the term banana equivalent dose as an informal unit of radiation exposure for educational purposes. Many common foods are slightly radioactive, including Brazil nuts, which contain radium, and carrots and potatoes, which contain small amounts of radioactive potassium. Even your own body is naturally radioactive because it contains these isotopes, making you about as radioactive as a banana. The radioactivity in bananas and other foods is part of the natural background radiation we're exposed to every day from cosmic rays, radioactive elements in the Earth's crust. and other natural sources. This background radiation has been present throughout human evolution and is generally harmless at normal environmental levels. The Pacific Ocean is so vast that it contains more water than all of Earth's landmass could fill if the land were completely flattened. Covering more than 63 million square miles, it's larger than all of Earth's land area combined. The deepest point on Earth is in the Pacific Ocean, in the Mariana Trench, reaching down nearly 7 miles below the surface. If you placed Mount Everest at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, its peak would still be more than a mile underwater. The pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is over 1,000 times greater than at sea level, equivalent to having 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of you. Despite these extreme conditions, life exists even in the deepest parts of the ocean, with specialized creatures adapted to survive in complete darkness under crushing pressure. The Pacific Ocean is so large that it contains about half of all the water in all the world's oceans combined. It would take more than 450 years for the sun to evaporate all the water in the Pacific Ocean if no rain ever fell to replace it. The ocean floor contains vast mountain ranges, deep trenches, and volcanic activity that makes the surface landscape of continents seem almost flat by comparison. Water has some truly peculiar properties that make life possible. It's one of the only substances that becomes less dense when it freezes, which is why ice floats. If ice sank like most frozen substances, lakes and oceans would freeze from the bottom up, likely making most aquatic life impossible. Water has an unusually high specific heat capacity, meaning it can absorb or release large amounts of heat without changing temperature much itself. This property helps regulate Earth's climate and keeps organisms from experiencing rapid temperature changes. Water is called the universal solvent because it can dissolve more substances than any other liquid. This makes it essential for transporting nutrients in living organisms and cycling minerals through ecosystems. The cohesion of water molecules, caused by hydrogen bonding, creates surface tension strong enough to support insects walking on water and helps trees transport water from roots to leaves against gravity. Water exists in all three states, solid, liquid, and gas, at normal Earth temperatures, which is unusual for a molecule of its size. The properties of water are so perfectly suited for life that some scientists argue that any planet with liquid water might potentially harbor life as we know it. A teaspoon of neutron star material would weigh about 6 billion tons on Earth. Neutron stars are among the densest objects in the universe, formed when massive stars collapse at the end of their lives. The gravitational force on a neutron star is so strong that if you dropped an object from just 1 meter above the surface, it would hit the ground at about 7 million kilometers per hour. A neutron star with the mass of about 1.4 times our Sun would be only about 12 miles across, roughly the size of a city. The matter is compressed so densely that protons and electrons are squeezed together to form neutrons, and a tablespoon of this material would weigh more than Mount Everest. Neutron stars can spin hundreds of times per second, and some emit beams of radiation that sweep across space like cosmic lighthouses, which we detect as pulsars. The magnetic fields around neutron stars are the strongest known in the universe, billions of times stronger than any magnet we could create on Earth. If you were somehow able to stand on the surface of a neutron star, you would be flattened into a layer less than an atom thick by the intense gravity. These extreme objects challenge our understanding of physics and demonstrate matter, behavior under conditions that can never be replicated in laboratories. Trees can communicate with each other through an underground network of fungi called mycorrhizae, sometimes referred to as the wood wide web. These fungal networks connect the roots of different trees and plants, allowing them to share nutrients, water, and even chemical signals. A mother tree can recognize and preferentially feed her offspring through these networks, sending them carbon and nutrients to help them survive. When a tree is attacked by insects, it can send chemical warning signals through the fungal network to neighboring trees, which then increase their production of defensive chemicals. Trees can also share resources with other species, creating a cooperative ecosystem beneath the forest floor. Scientists have found that trees share about 40% of the carbon they produce through photosynthesis with neighboring trees via these fungal networks. Older, larger trees often act as hubs in these networks, supporting younger trees and maintaining the health of the forest community. This hidden social network reveals that forests are not just collections of individual trees, but complex, interconnected communities where cooperation is as important as competition. The discovery of these networks has revolutionized our understanding of forest ecosystem and plant intelligence. Your nose can detect about 1 trillion different scents, far more than scientists previously believed. The sense of smell is closely linked to memory and emotion because the olfactory bulb, which processes smells, has direct connections to the amygdala and hippocampus, brain regions involved in emotion and memory. This is why certain smells can instantly transport you back to specific moments from your past. Humans can detect some substances in incredibly tiny amounts, with some odor molecules detectable at concentrations of just a few parts per trillion. Your left and right nostrils take turns being the dominant nostril throughout the day, switching approximately every 4 hours in most people. Each nostril processes smells slightly differently, with some evidence suggesting the right nostril is better at detecting certain odors while the left excels at others. Smell is the only sense that doesn't pass through the thalamus before reaching the brain's cortex, giving it a unique direct pathway to memory and emotion centers. You can smell fear because humans and animals release chemical signals called pheromones when stressed or afraid, though we're usually not consciously aware of detecting them. Loss of smell, called anosmia, can significantly impact quality of life, affecting taste, safety awareness, and emotional well-being. The Great Barrier Reef is the largest living structure on Earth, visible from space. Stretching over 1,300 miles along the coast of Australia, it's actually composed of nearly 3,000 individual reef systems and hundreds of islands. The reef is built by billions of tiny organisms called coral polyps, which are actually animals related to jellyfish and sea anemones. These polyps secrete calcium carbonate skeletons that accumulate over thousands of years to form the massive reef structure. The Great Barrier Reef is home to an incredible diversity of life, including over 1,500 species of fish, 400 species of coral, 4,000 species of mollusks, and countless other organisms. It provides habitat for 6 species of sea turtles, over 30 species of whales and dolphins, and the endangered dugong. The reef supports both marine biodiversity and human economies, with millions of people depending on it for food, tourism, and coastal protection. The complex ecosystem functions like an underwater city, with different species filling various ecological roles in this thriving community. However, the reef faces serious threats from climate change, ocean acidification, and pollution, making it one of the most vulnerable ecosystems on the planet. Scientists are working to understand and protect this natural wonder, which has taken millions of years to develop and supports an irreplaceable web of life. Time actually moves slower for objects traveling at high speeds relative to stationary observers, a phenomenon called time dilation predicted by Einstein's theory of relativity. This isn't science fiction but measured reality. Atomic clocks on fast-moving aircraft run slightly slower than identical clocks on the ground, exactly as Einstein predicted. Astronauts on the International Space Station age slightly more slowly than people on Earth because they're moving at about 17,500 miles per hour. After 6 months in space, an astronaut will be about 0.007 seconds younger than if they had stayed on Earth. This effect becomes more pronounced at speeds closer to the speed of light. If you could travel in a spaceship at 99% the speed of light for what seems like 1 year to you, about 7 years would pass on Earth. This time dilation effect isn't just theoretical, but has been confirmed by countless experiments and is essential for the accuracy of GPS satellites, which must account for both their high speed and weaker gravity to provide precise location data. Time is not the universal constant we perceive it to be, but is flexible and depends on motion and gravity. This strange property of time reveals that the universe operates according to principles that seem counterintuitive based on everyday experience. A bolt of lightning is approximately 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, reaching temperatures of about 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit or 30,000 degrees Celsius. Lightning is essentially a massive electrical discharge caused by the buildup of opposite charges in storm clouds and on the ground. A single lightning bolt carries between 100 million and 1 billion volts of electricity and can contain up to 1 billion joules of energy. The flash of light you see travels at the speed of light, while the sound of thunder travels much slower at the speed of sound, which is why you see lightning before you hear thunder. You can estimate how far away lightning struck by counting the seconds between the flash and the thunder, then dividing by 5 to get the distance in miles. Lightning strikes Earth about 100 times every second, or roughly 8 million times per day. The United States alone experiences about 25 million lightning strikes each year. Lightning doesn't just strike down from clouds to the ground, but also travels upward from the ground to meet the descending charge. The bolt follows a path of ionized air that becomes briefly more conductive than the surrounding atmosphere. Lightning can also occur within clouds, between clouds, and from clouds to the upper atmosphere, creating phenomena like sprites, elves, and blue jets. While beautiful and fascinating, lightning is also dangerous, killing about 50 people per year in the United States alone. The human eye is an incredibly sophisticated organ, capable of detecting millions of colors and functioning in conditions ranging from bright sunlight to near darkness. Your eyes can distinguish between about 10 million different colors, though the exact number varies between individuals. The muscles that control your eye movements are the most active muscles in your entire body, moving about 100,000 times per day. This would be equivalent to walking 50 miles a day if your leg muscles were as active. Your eyes can process about 36,000 pieces of information every hour and can focus on about 50 things per second. The human eye has a resolution equivalent to about 576 megapixels, far surpassing any camera. Your eyes start developing just 2 weeks after conception and are one of the first organs to form. They're about 2/3 their adult size at birth and grow very little afterward, which is why babies appear to have such large eyes. The eye is the second most complex organ after the brain, containing over 2 million working parts. Your eyes can heal quickly, with a minor corneal scratch typically healing within 24 to 48 hours. Interestingly, everyone has a blind spot where the optic nerve connects to the retina, but your brain fills in the missing information so seamlessly that you never notice it. Your eyes are constantly making tiny movements called microsaccades, and if they ever stopped moving completely, you would temporarily go blind because your vision depends on detecting changes. Sharks have existed for over 400 million years, meaning they're older than trees, which appeared around 370 million years ago. Sharks survived 4 of the 5 mass extinction events that wiped out most life on Earth, including the extinction that killed the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. These ancient predators have remained relatively unchanged because their body design is so effective. Sharks have no bones. Their skeletons are made entirely of cartilage, the same flexible material that makes up your nose and ears. This makes them lighter and more flexible than bony fish. Sharks can detect electrical fields generated by living creatures using special organs called ampullae of Lorenzini, which are jelly-filled pores around their heads. This electrical sense is so sensitive that sharks can detect the tiny electrical impulses from a heartbeat. They can also detect a single drop of blood in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, thanks to their incredibly acute sense of smell. Different shark species have evolved remarkably diverse lifestyles and appearances. The dwarf lantern shark is only about 8 inches long, while the whale shark can grow to over 40 feet, making it the largest fish in the ocean. Some sharks must swim continuously to breathe, while others can pump water over their gills while resting on the ocean floor. Despite their fearsome reputation, sharks are responsible for very few human deaths each year, far fewer than deaths from bee stings or lightning strikes. Many shark species are now endangered due to overfishing and habitat loss, threatening the health of ocean ecosystems where sharks play a crucial role as apex predators. The human body contains about 37 trillion cells, though this number varies between individuals based on size and body composition. If you could line up all your DNA end to end, it would stretch about 67 billion miles, which could make over 250 round trips to the sun. Every cell in your body except red blood cells, and some others, contains a complete copy of your genome, approximately 3 billion base pairs of DNA. Your DNA is 99.9% identical to that of every other human on Earth, with the remaining 0.1% accounting for all the variation between individuals. Despite sharing so much DNA with other humans, you also share about 98.8% of your DNA with chimpanzees, about 90% with cats, about 85% with mice, about 61% with fruit flies, and even about 50% with bananas. This reflects our shared evolutionary history and the fundamental biochemical similarities among all living things. Your genetic code is written using just 4 chemical letters, abbreviated as A, T, G, and C. Yet this simple 4-letter alphabet contains all the instructions needed to build and maintain an incredibly complex human body. If you could type out your entire genome, typing 60 words per minute for 8 hours a day, it would take approximately 50 years to finish. Every time a cell divides, it must copy all 3 billion base pairs of DNA, and while the copying mechanism is remarkably accurate, a few errors inevitably slip through, creating mutations. Most mutations have no effect, some are harmful, and a tiny fraction are beneficial, providing the raw material for evolution. Sound cannot travel through space because space is a vacuum with no air or other medium to carry sound waves. In movies, explosions in space are dramatically loud, but in reality, they would be completely silent. Sound is a mechanical wave that requires a medium like air, water, or solid materials to propagate. On Earth, sound travels through air at about 767 miles per hour at sea level, though this speed varies with temperature and altitude. Sound travels faster through water, at about 3,350 miles per hour, and even faster through solid materials like steel, where it can move at about 12,000 miles per hour. The speed of sound creates some interesting effects, like sonic booms when objects travel faster than sound can propagate. When an airplane exceeds the speed of sound, it creates a shock wave that's heard as a loud boom on the ground. The pitch of a sound depends on its frequency, measured in hertz, with human hearing ranging from about 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz when young, though the upper limit decreases with age. Sounds below 20 hertz are called infrasound and can't be heard by humans, but can be felt as vibrations and are produced by earthquakes, volcanoes, and even some large animals like elephants and whales, who use infrasound for long-distance communication. Sounds above 20,000 hertz are called ultrasound and are used by bats for echolocation and in medical imaging. The loudest sound ever recorded was the eruption of Krakatoa volcano in 1883, which could be heard over 3,000 miles away and ruptured the eardrums of sailors 40 miles from the explosion. Butterflies and moths taste with their feet, allowing them to determine if a leaf is suitable for laying eggs or if a flower contains nectar before they even land completely. Their feet have special sensors called chemoreceptors that can detect specific chemicals. When a butterfly lands on a plant, it's essentially tasting it to gather information about its chemical composition. This ability is crucial for female butterflies who need to identify the exact species of plant where their caterpillars will be able to feed after hatching. Monarch butterflies, for example, will only lay eggs on milkweed plants, and they identify the correct plant by taste receptors on their feet. Butterflies undergo one of nature's most remarkable transformations through the process of metamorphosis. Inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar essentially dissolves into a protein soup, and most of its body is reorganized to create the butterfly. Amazingly, some research suggests that butterflies may retain memories from their time as caterpillars, even though their brain structure changes dramatically. Butterflies have compound eyes made up of thousands of tiny lenses, giving them nearly 360-degree vision and the ability to see ultraviolet light, which reveals patterns on flowers that are invisible to humans. Many flowers have evolved ultraviolet patterns that act like landing strips, guiding pollinators to their nectar. Some butterfly species migrate thousands of miles, with monarch butterflies traveling up to 3,000 miles from Canada to Mexico. Most amazingly, the monarchs that make this journey have never been to Mexico before, and their great-great-grandparents made the last migration. Yet they somehow find their way to the exact same trees where their ancestors spent the winter. Your heart beats about 100,000 times per day, pumping approximately 2,000 gallons of blood through your body. Over an average lifetime, your heart will beat more than 2.5 billion times without ever stopping to rest. The heart is an incredibly efficient pump made of cardiac muscle that never tires like skeletal muscles do. It creates enough pressure to squirt blood up to 30 feet when the heart is removed from the body. Your heart's rhythm is controlled by its own electrical system, which is why a heart can continue beating even when removed from the body as long as it has oxygen and nutrients. The heart begins beating just 3 weeks after conception, before most women even know they're pregnant, and it's the first organ to form during fetal development. Despite being located slightly left of center in your chest, your heart is about the size of your fist and weighs between 8 and 12 ounces. The heart has 4 chambers, 2 atria and 2 ventricles, which work in coordination to pump deoxygenated blood to the lungs and oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. The familiar lub-dub sound of a heartbeat is caused by the valves closing to prevent blood from flowing backward. Blood travels through about 60,000 miles of blood vessels in your body, enough to wrap around Earth more than twice. The heart pumps blood to nearly every cell in your body, with the only exceptions being the corneas of your eyes, which receive oxygen directly from the air. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death in many countries, making understanding and caring for this vital organ essential for health and longevity. Koalas sleep up to 22 hours per day, making them one of the most somnolent animals on Earth. This extreme sleeping habit is due to their diet of eucalyptus leaves, which are extremely low in nutrition and difficult to digest. Eucalyptus leaves are toxic to most animals, containing compounds that would poison other species, but koalas have special bacteria in their digestive systems that break down these toxins. Even with this special adaptation, eucalyptus provides so little energy that koalas must conserve energy by sleeping most of the day. When awake, koalas move very slowly and deliberately, spending most of their time eating or resting while digesting. Koalas are marsupials, meaning they carry their young in pouches like kangaroos. Baby koalas, called joeys, are born incredibly underdeveloped, about the size of a jelly bean, and must crawl into their mother's pouch where they continue developing for about 6 months. Koalas have fingerprints that are remarkably similar to human fingerprints, so similar that they can confuse forensic scientists. They're one of the few animals besides humans and other primates to have unique fingerprints. Koalas are also one of the few mammals that have a smooth brain, lacking the folds and wrinkles found in most mammal brains. Despite this, they're capable of complex behaviors and have good memories, especially for spatial information about their home ranges. Koalas communicate with each other using a variety of sounds, including loud bellows from males that can be heard over long distances. They're solitary animals that usually interact only during mating season, spending most of their lives alone in eucalyptus trees. The coldest place in the universe isn't in deep space, but actually in a laboratory here on Earth. Scientists have achieved temperatures as low as 0.5 billionths of a degree above absolute zero in labs, colder than anywhere else known in the universe. Absolute zero is minus 459.67 degrees Fahrenheit, or minus 273.15 degrees Celsius. The theoretical temperature at which all molecular motion stops. While deep space has a background temperature of about minus 454 degrees Fahrenheit, or 2.7 Kelvin, left over from the Big Bang. Scientists can create even colder conditions using lasers and magnetic fields to slow atoms to nearly complete stillness. At these extreme cold temperatures, matter exhibits bizarre quantum behaviors, forming states like Bose-Einstein condensates, where groups of atoms act as a single quantum entity. These ultra-cold experiments allow scientists to study quantum mechanics in ways impossible under normal conditions. Paradoxically, while we can create extreme cold on Earth, the hottest temperatures we've achieved in laboratories, such as in particle accelerators, are far hotter than anything found naturally in the universe today, reaching trillions of degrees for brief moments, conditions not seen since microseconds after the Big Bang. Temperature represents the average kinetic energy of particles, so at absolute zero, particles would theoretically have no kinetic energy. Though quantum mechanics shows they retain some minimal motion, even at the coldest possible temperatures. The quest to reach ever colder temperatures has driven advances in physics and technology, leading to discoveries about superconductivity, superfluidity, and the fundamental nature of matter itself. Humans share about 50% of their DNA with bananas, highlighting the shared evolutionary heritage of all life on Earth. This might seem shocking, but it makes sense when you consider that all living things descended from a common ancestor billions of years ago. The basic biochemical machinery of life, including DNA replication, protein synthesis, and cellular metabolism, works similarly in organisms from bacteria to plants to animals. The proteins that help cells divide, manage energy, and perform basic functions are often similar across vastly different species, because these fundamental processes evolved early in life's history. You share about 98.8% of your DNA with chimpanzees, about 85% with mice, about 80% with cows, about 61% with fruit flies, and about 50% with yeast, a single-celled organism. These similarities reflect how closely related we are evolutionarily, and how much of life's basic chemistry is conserved across different branches of the tree of life. The differences between species come not just from different genes, but from how genes are regulated and expressed, creating dramatic variations in body plans, behaviors, and capabilities from similar genetic starting materials. Humans have about 20,000 to 25,000 genes, surprisingly close to the number in much simpler organisms. Wheat has more genes than humans, demonstrating that complexity doesn't necessarily correlate with gene number. What makes humans unique isn't primarily the genes we possess, but how they're organized, regulated, and expressed during development. The study of comparative genomics reveals the deep connections between all living things and helps scientists understand evolution, disease, and the fundamental nature of life itself. A day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus. The planet takes about 243 Earth days to complete one rotation on its axis, but only about 225 Earth days to orbit the Sun. This means a Venusian day is longer than a Venusian year, creating one of the strangest day-night cycles in our solar system. Venus also rotates backward compared to most planets, a phenomenon called retrograde rotation. So on Venus, the sun would rise in the west and set in the east if you could see it through the thick clouds. The surface of Venus is hot enough to melt lead, with temperatures around 870 degrees Fahrenheit or 470 degrees Celsius, making it the hottest planet in the solar system, despite not being the closest to the sun. This extreme heat is caused by a runaway greenhouse effect, with a thick atmosphere composed mostly of carbon dioxide trapping heat. The atmospheric pressure on Venus is about 90 times greater than Earth's, equivalent to the pressure experienced nearly a mile underwater in Earth's oceans. Venus is often called Earth's twin because it's similar in size, mass, and composition, but its environment is radically different from our home planet. The thick clouds that perpetually cover Venus are made of sulfuric acid, creating an acidic haze that would dissolve metal. Despite these hellish conditions, Venus wasn't always this way. Scientists believe that Venus may have had liquid water oceans billions of years ago, before the greenhouse effect spiraled out of control, providing a cautionary tale about planetary climate change. The placebo effect is powerful enough to cause measurable physical changes in the body, demonstrating the remarkable connection between mind and body. When people believe they're receiving medical treatment, they often experience real improvements in their symptoms, even if the treatment is inactive. In clinical trials, placebos can reduce pain, improve mood, lower blood pressure, and even trigger the release of natural painkillers called endorphins. Brain imaging shows that placebos can activate the same neural pathways as actual medications, demonstrating that the effect has a biological basis and isn't just imagination. The color of a placebo pill can influence its effectiveness, with blue pills working better as sedatives and red or orange pills working better as stimulants, suggesting that expectations and cultural associations play important roles. Larger pills are often more effective placebos than smaller ones, and injections tend to be more powerful placebos than pills, possibly because people associate more invasive procedures with stronger medicine. Perhaps most remarkably, placebos can work even when people know they're taking a placebo, a phenomenon called open-label placebo. Studies show that some patients who know they're getting inactive pills still experience symptom relief, suggesting that the ritual of treatment and the belief in the healing process itself can trigger beneficial physiological changes. The placebo effect reveals that healing is complex and involves not just the direct action of medications, but also expectations, beliefs, emotions, and the patient-practitioner relationship. Understanding and ethically harnessing the placebo effect could improve medical treatments and help us better understand the mind's influence on physical health. Giraffes have the same number of neck bones as humans, 7 cervical vertebrae, but each giraffe vertebra can be over 10 inches long. This allows their necks to reach lengths of 6 feet or more, giving them access to leaves in tall trees that other herbivores cannot reach. A giraffe's tongue can be up to 20 inches long and is prehensile, meaning it can grasp things like a hand. The tongue is dark purple or black, which may help protect it from sunburn, since giraffes spend so much time with their tongues extended while feeding. Giraffes have extraordinarily high blood pressure, about twice that of humans, which is necessary to pump blood all the way up their long necks to their brains. To prevent blood from rushing to their heads when they bend down to drink. Giraffes have special valves in their neck arteries and an intricate network of blood vessels at the base of the brain that regulates pressure. Despite their height, giraffes can run up to 35 miles per hour over short distances, moving both legs on one side of their body together in a distinctive pacing gait. Male giraffes determine female receptivity by tasting their urine, showing that even the tallest animals have unglamorous aspects to their biology. Giraffes sleep very little, averaging only about 30 minutes to 2 hours per day in short intervals of just a few minutes at a time, making them one of the least sleeping mammals. When they do lie down to sleep, which is rare and risky, they might tuck their heads back toward their hindquarters. Each giraffe has a unique spot pattern, like a fingerprint, that helps individuals recognize each other. Giraffes are pregnant for about 15 months, one of the longest gestation periods among mammals, and calves are born falling about 6 feet to the ground. A dramatic entrance into the world that helps them start breathing and stimulates circulation. The Great Wall of China is not actually visible from space with the naked eye, contrary to popular myth. While portions of the wall can be seen from low Earth orbit under perfect conditions with ideal lighting and using magnification. Claiming it's visible from the moon or readily seen from space is misleading. The wall, while impressively long at over 13,000 miles including all its branches, is relatively narrow, typically 15 to 30 feet wide, making it difficult to distinguish from the surrounding landscape when viewed from orbital distances. Many other human-made structures are more visible from space, including city lights at night, large highways, and airport runways. The Great Wall was built over many centuries by different Chinese dynasties, with construction beginning as early as the 7th century BC. Though the most famous sections were built during the Ming Dynasty between 1368 and 1644 AD. The wall was constructed primarily as a defense against invasions from nomadic groups from the northern steppes. It served not just as a physical barrier, but also as a communication system, with smoke signals sent from watchtowers to rapidly convey information about enemy movements. The wall is not a single continuous structure, but rather consists of many different walls and fortifications built by various states and dynasties. Many sections have fallen into disrepair over the centuries, while other parts have been reconstructed and are now major tourist attractions. The wall required an enormous investment of human labor, with estimates suggesting that hundreds of thousands of workers, including soldiers, peasants, and prisoners, were involved in its construction. Many workers died during construction, and there are numerous legends about people buried within the wall itself, though archaeological evidence for this is limited. Octopus arms have a mind of their own, literally, with two-thirds of an octopus's neurons located in its arms rather than its central brain. Each arm contains about 40 million neurons, allowing it to taste, touch, and move somewhat independently of the central brain. An octopus arm can continue moving and reacting to stimuli even after being severed from the body, demonstrating the distributed nature of its nervous system. Scientists have observed that octopus arms avoid touching the octopus's own body through a chemical self-recognition system, preventing arms from accidentally grabbing each other or the body while hunting. Octopuses use their arms for complex tasks like manipulating objects, hunting, exploring, and even defending themselves, with each arm capable of bending in any direction due to having no bones or rigid structures. The arms are covered with hundreds of suckers, each independently controlled and capable of exerting significant force. An octopus has such fine control over its arms that it can move the suckers in waves to transport objects along the length of the arm. Octopuses are capable of impressive feats of strength for their size, with their suckers creating powerful suction. They're also escape artists, able to squeeze through incredibly small openings and manipulate latches, screws, and other fasteners to escape from enclosures. Their distributed intelligence raises interesting questions about consciousness and what it means to have a mind. Does each arm have its own mini-consciousness, or is the octopus's experience somehow unified despite the distributed processing? Scientists continue to study these fascinating creatures to understand their unique form of intelligence and how their unusual nervous system architecture enables complex behaviors. Learning more about the octopus brain could provide insights into alternative forms of intelligence and consciousness, very different from mammalian brains. Thank you for joining this journey through fascinating scientific facts. As you drift into peaceful sleep, remember that the universe we inhabit is filled with endless wonders waiting to be discovered. Science reveals the extraordinary in the ordinary, showing us that reality itself is more amazing than we often realize. From the microscopic world of cells and atoms to the vast expanses of space and time, from the depths of the oceans to the heights of the atmosphere, knowledge enriches our appreciation of existence. Rest well knowing that human curiosity continues to unlock the secrets of nature, expanding our understanding of life, the universe, and our place within it. Sweet dreams, and may your mind wander through these marvels of science as you sleep. Volcanoes are among Earth's most powerful and dramatic geological features, creating new land while simultaneously destroying it. When a volcano erupts, it releases molten rock called magma, which becomes lava once it reaches the surface. The temperature of lava can range from about 1,300 to 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit. There are over 1,500 active volcanoes on Earth's surface, though many more exist beneath the oceans. The largest volcano on Earth is Mauna Loa in Hawaii, which rises about 13,600 feet above sea level, but extends another 16,400 feet below the ocean surface, making it taller than Mount Everest when measured from its base. Volcanic eruptions have dramatically influenced human history and Earth's climate. The eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia in 1815 was so massive that it caused the year without a summer in 1816, when global temperatures dropped, causing crop failures and food shortages across the northern hemisphere. The ash and gases released by large volcanic eruptions can temporarily cool global temperatures by blocking sunlight. Despite their destructive power, volcanoes also create fertile soil rich in minerals, which is why many people live near volcanoes despite the risks. Volcanic activity also plays a crucial role in Earth's carbon cycle, releasing carbon dioxide that has been stored in rocks back into the atmosphere over geological timescales. Most volcanoes occur at plate boundaries where tectonic plates meet, but some form over hotspots, areas where plumes of hot mantle material rise toward the surface. The Ring of Fire, a region circling the Pacific Ocean, contains about 75% of the world's active volcanoes and is also where about 90% of earthquakes occur. Scientists monitor volcanoes continuously using seismometers, gas sensors, and satellite imagery to predict eruptions and protect nearby populations. Quantum mechanics reveals that particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed, a phenomenon called superposition. This counterintuitive principle is demonstrated by the famous thought experiment of Schrödinger's cat, where a cat in a box could be simultaneously alive and dead until someone opens the box to observe it. While this example uses a cat to illustrate the concept, superposition is a real property of subatomic particles that has been confirmed by countless experiments. Particles like electrons and photons don't have definite properties until measured, existing instead as probability waves that describe where they might be or what state they might have. When observed, the wave function collapses, and the particle takes on a definite state. This isn't just a limitation of our measurement tools, but appears to be a fundamental feature of reality at quantum scales. Quantum mechanics also allows for entanglement, where two particles become correlated in such a way that measuring one instantly affects the other, regardless of the distance between them. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance and was deeply troubled by it, but experiments have confirmed that entanglement is real. These quantum properties have practical applications in developing quantum computers, which exploit superposition and entanglement to perform certain calculations far faster than classical computers. Quantum mechanics has revolutionized our understanding of the microscopic world and underlies much of modern technology, from transistors and lasers to MRI machines and solar panels. The theory works perfectly for making predictions, yet its implications about the nature of reality remain philosophically puzzling. The quantum world operates according to rules that seem to defy common sense, challenging our notions of determinism, locality, and the nature of observation itself.